Heyo! Yes, I am back in my dragon onesie because, well, I can. And I'm pretty cold, so I have socks on and I'm back in here. Like, after I took a shower, I hopped right back in to this to be comfy and cozy. Anywho. The reason, or like, not the reason, I was gonna say the reason why I'm filming. I film every day. Something happened today, and it was in the morning while I was doing the dishes. And a thought plopped in my head. It just plopped out of nowhere. I don't know where it came from. I'm not talking about like intrusive thoughts. That's something else. Oh my gosh. Excuse that. It wasn't a statement, I guess. It was more of a question that I ended up turning over and over and over again in my head and really thinking about all day today. And now I'm gonna externally process it right here some more. And the question was this: does maturity only come from pain? Like, can you only gain maturity through experiencing pain of some sort? To a certain, and I was like, oh my gosh, and like all these bridges were being connected and light bulbs, and I guess the first thing that came to my mind was, well, that makes sense. Like, the people that have really experienced stuff in life, like they've been through some stuff, are usually, and I say usually, and I'll get back to that, are usually one of the most mature people that I have ever met. There's so much around maturity, and to really allow myself to think about that, I was like, well, what's the definition of maturity? What does mature mean? Like the dictionary definition of mature is like full term or full grown or fully developed. There was another one. Full term, full grown, full term, grown. It'll probably come back to me. Anyways, I also realized that in situations, people often say like, oh, be mature. Like, be mature about this. Are you serious? You're so immature. But I feel like they throw that out there, but they don't really, like, what are you actually saying? So that's what I wanted to look into too. Because, like I was saying in, like, somewhere in there, was the first thought that came to my head. One, was the answer yes to that question, but two, to the question of, can you only like gain maturity basically through experiencing pain? The thing that came to my head was looking upon my own life and being like, I've experienced a lot in my life, and I'll just leave it at that. And from as far back as I can remember, I've always been told that I was mature for my age. I would be in elementary and they're just like, wow, you're a very mature 5th grader and stuff like that. And I was always low-key, not insulted, but I feel like maturity is also in society seen as synonymous to old, which is not true. You can be old and immature. But I was just thinking of all these different ways we use mature and what they mean, and to really see how I can address that question, that initial question. Because physically, you know, when you mature, you get growing pains. Especially during puberty. I swear to you, there's like 2 puberties. I feel like I'm gonna sneeze. I remember in the midst of puberty, I would ask my doctor, because I was concerned, I was legitimately concerned, like, about breast pains. And she was like, they're completely normal. They're just growing. And I was like, it hurts so bad. But it's just because they're growing. They're maturing. My body is maturing. And, or even your teeth, you know, teething. It hurts. But the baby's mouth is maturing. It's growing. Or even when the baby teeth fall out and the new ones are coming in, the adult ones. It hurts. It comes with pain to mature. But also, with maturity, with experience, you gain maturity, is usually what people say. But that's, at least the way I'm thinking about it, that's not necessarily true. You can gain all this experience. You can experience a bunch of experiences. But if you don't take the time to look at those experiences, if you just go through the motions, or if you block it out like you're not even there, and you don't take anything from it, you don't sit down with it, you don't dig your hands into it, then you're not going to gain anything from it. And this is where everything started to make sense once this thought popped into my head. This word, I mean. Self-aware. Because, yes, you can gain a bunch of experiences, but if you're not going to try to be aware about them, especially self-aware about how this is affecting you, how this is affecting other people, and how the way that this is affecting you can make you affect other people, all that kind of stuff, then the experience isn't really going to do anything. Like, those are like the ingredients, or like the resources, right? But it's up to you to apply them, to use them, learn. They're like tools for maturity, right? So like, if experience is the ingredients for maturity, and self-awareness is like the things that you apply to make them work, like to make them develop into maturity, then self-awareness is like a tool, I guess. I'm coming up with this on the fly, so I don't even know if this analogy necessarily works. I'll probably think about it more off screen, but you get the point. So like, experience plus self-awareness yields maturity. In a sense, right? And it makes sense when I was thinking about this, because I wasn't just experiencing all those things as a kid. I was also trying to look inward, and I didn't even know what self-aware meant when I was younger. I just thought I was always inwardly thinking. And then I learned the word self-reflecting, and I was like, oh yeah, I self-reflect all the time. And it was because I was always working on trying to be as self-aware as a 9-year-old could, a 10-year-old, and so on and so forth. And it was because of that I was always mature for my age, because I was aware of things that most 9-year-olds aren't. And so, another thing I was thinking about is becoming self-aware is no easy thing. Being constantly self-aware is hard, it's difficult, and it hurts a lot. It can bring pain, lots of discomfort. But you need that to be mature. And that's the whole thing about how I addressed the initial question of, can you only gain maturity through pain? And I'm, at least right now, my answer could change when I'm tomorrow, in an hour, whatever. But actually, it's a yes right now. Like you can only gain maturity through all that, which comes with pain. That was messy, I know, but I just thought that was mind-blowing, and I don't know how that even came about when I was just washing dishes alone. I wasn't even around anyone. Most people weren't even awake yet. And I was just doing dishes, getting ready. I just got out of the shower and I was getting ready for a meeting, and then that popped in my head. Because it also made me think about how many immature people. Oh, and let me go back to that. When you're saying, be mature about this, or you're so immature, what you're really saying, right, is be self-aware. Be aware of yourself and your surroundings and other people and how you affect them and how everything is low-key connected. All this self-stuff. And then, because it's one thing to be self-aware, right? But then you can be unhealthily self-aware. So you can be so hyper-focused on the fact that you are literally connected to everything. Everything that you do has an outcome. I was gonna say consequence, but like that sounds bad. Like it's something bad will always happen. You always have an effect on something. You're always... Anyway, I don't know how to put that into words right now. But you can be so hyper-focused on that fact that you become unhealthy. And then you start disrespecting, like, yourself. And you start basically having no boundaries. And those are probably usually the people that always get walked all over or get taken advantage of, because they're so self-aware that there ends up being this guilt and shame about certain things. They're like, oh, okay, because then you're acting out of your guilt and your shame, and then you end up being a people pleaser. But it's also not your job to fix everyone. And you're not responsible for other people's feelings and emotions. You can be considerate of them, but you're not responsible for them. Like, there's so much. So yeah. I don't know. I think the word mature and like maturity gets thrown around so much without actually knowing what it means. And maturity also, like, to be healthily mature, right? Healthily self-aware and stuff. You need balance. You know, just because your body is physically mature doesn't mean you're mentally or emotionally mature or spiritually mature. You know, we all have stats, like base stats, like in a game with the bars or like the numbers. And like someone's physical maturity can be like, wow, right? And then their emotional, mental, and spiritual maturity is like small. I'm not sure if that's it. But this is also 15 minutes now. But I just, yeah, everything kind of makes more sense now. Because that's also how you have such immature adults. Because they're not self-aware. And the real bad ones are the ones that think they're self-aware, but they're not. Because if you are conscious of things you need to change because you have some toxic traits, but then you don't do anything about it, you're like, oh yeah, I know I have those toxic traits, but you don't take any steps to work on that, to dig into that more, you're not gonna grow. Nothing's gonna happen. Nothing's gonna change. And that's the whole kind of thing that I was saying maybe a video or two ago, I don't really remember, is also being aware of the fact that just because you're growing, just because you're working on yourself and you are healing and you're self-aware, does not mean that the people around you are. And also, I feel like maturity is not only seen as synonymous almost, or like seen paired, what is it, mutually exclusive? I'm blanking out, but maturity is not only paired with the word old, but it's also, I feel like, paired with the word boring. I know some wildly interesting people that are also very mature. And just because you're mature of some sense doesn't mean you don't have any room to grow. I consider myself a pretty mature person, but I also consider myself someone who has so much learning and growing to do. Like, learning and growing and healing is not something that stops. It's a constant thing until you die and then some. So in reality, this is what I think about, or this is what I've been thinking about life lately, is the more I grow, it's the more I'm discovering myself. So this whole life, my whole life is me discovering things, including myself. I'm just constantly uncovering things and trying to get more and more and more to the root of things, to more and more of the authenticity. And it makes it harder, you know, when there's things like there's so many confounding variables. I'm really not trying to bring stats into this, but my phone is about to die and I don't have my charger. So I am forced to stop here, but it was getting long anyways, and I don't think I had anything else to say on the subject. So have an amazing, beautiful, wonderful day, night, wherever you're at. I love you.